I never wanted to be a hero. That's the kind of thing people say after the medals are handed out and the dead are buried. But I mean it. I was just another grunt, Private First Class Elias Merrick, Earthborn, third-generation military. I'd seen my share of deployments, mostly peacekeeping in fringe sectors. Nothing ever prepares you for a ghost world. Nothing prepares you for Thalzar. The UN Resolute dropped out of fold space above the planet on schedule. From orbit, Thalzar looked the same as always. Brilliant silver oceans, luminous towers that touched the edge of atmosphere, and massive floating cities suspended by anti-grav spires. But something felt wrong. There were no traffic lanes, no beacons. Silence. Lieutenant Sharp kept her voice calm over the comms, but I could hear the tension in the squad's breathing. No diplomatic escort. No welcome transmissions. Just static. We ran diagnostics 3 times. Nothing was jamming us. They just weren't answering. We landed on the central platform of the Capitol spire. The landing gear screeched louder than usual in the still air. I was first boots down. Rifle up, eyes scanning the wide marble landing strip. No movement. No honor guard. No life. Wind howled between empty courtyards. An ornate banner of the Thalzari royal house flapped weakly against a nearby pillar, half torn, its golden thread dulled by ash. We moved in formation, down the great crystal halls that used to echo with music and light. Now they were dark. Burned. We found signs of panic, dropped belongings, shattered datapads, even a few dried blood trails. But no bodies. No screams. Just the heavy weight of something ancient and broken. Ortega, our medic, muttered, "This isn't right. Where is everyone?" I didn't answer. I felt it too. Like the whole place was watching us, or warning us. Then it came, a whisper, faint as a breeze, echoing through our comms. "Help, please." We froze. Ortega looked at me, eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" I nodded. "Direction." She tapped her visor. "Below us. Deep." Lieutenant Sharp ordered a split. My team, Ortega, Maddox, and I, were to investigate the lower palace sectors. We moved fast, down cracked elevators and through forgotten maintenance shafts that hadn't seen light in years. The whisper came again, clearer this time. Feminine. Weak. Pleading. We reached the lowest chamber, a vast domed vault sealed by blast doors etched with Thalzari script. Maddox hot-wired the interface while I listened. The voice was closer now, trembling with pain. The doors creaked open. And there she was, curled on the floor, her dress torn, blood trickling from her lip, skin pale like a dying flame. The golden sigils on her forehead flickered dimly. She tried to rise, failed, and looked up at me with eyes filled with something more than fear. Desperation. Hope. "I am Era, Princess of Thalzar," she whispered. "Please, help me." And in that moment, I made a decision I didn't understand yet. A promise I'd carry into hell and beyond. I reached out my hand. And everything changed. We carried her out of that ruined vault like she was made of glass. Ortega checked her vitals, scanning rapidly, muttering under her breath. Her systems collapsing. Biosignature is fading fast. She's infected with something I've never seen. The princess barely spoke, but when she did, her voice was like fractured crystal, soft but sharp, trembling with pain and authority all at once. The plague, engineered. It was not meant for the common people. It targets my kind. My bloodline. Royalty, she meant. The Thalzari monarchy was more than ceremonial, it was neurological. Genetic. Each member of the royal line emitted low-level telepathic harmonics that bonded the minds of the Thalzari people. It's how they kept peace across their vast empire. It wasn't just culture or tradition. It was biology. If she died, it wasn't just a political collapse, it was mass psychosis. An entire species mentally severed from their anchor. Maddox patched into the palace AI systems, what was left of them, and tried to raise the fleet or any off-world command. Nothing. Something had burned the planet's comms to cinders. Every external channel, every orbital relay, offline or fried. No one was coming. I knelt beside her. "We'll find a cure," I said, more to myself than to her. She opened her eyes, weak and dim. There is one. It was hidden, long ago, the sanctuary of Voth. None of us had heard that name before, but she gave us coordinates. Far across the continent. Deep in the ruined lands, places where storms tore apart steel and the Crithian deathcrawlers still prowled. Ortega protested. We don't even know if this place exists. She needs a hospital. Not a temple myth from old-world legends. She won't make it to orbit, I said quietly. And even if we got her there, there's nothing waiting above but silence. We loaded her into a portable hoverskiff we found in the palace's emergency hangar. Maddox jury-rigged it with backup power and minimal shielding. We moved out, flying low and fast across the ash-colored landscape that used to be forests and glowing plains. Now it looked like the bones of a forgotten god. We passed abandoned cities, drifting towers cracked open like rib cages, and fields littered with the skeletal remains of Thalzari citizens. No wounds, no signs of struggle. Just collapse. The plague had claimed them from within. Without their royal telepathic bond, their minds must have shattered. Era lay wrapped in an old ceremonial cloak, breathing shallow, her fingers twitching with each pulse of pain. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just endured. She was dying slowly, but with a kind of grace I didn't understand. At night, when the skiff anchored in the dunes, I sat beside her. Sometimes she spoke. Bits of her childhood. The burden of being born into a throne wired to the soul of a civilization. How loneliness was a constant companion. I didn't tell her much about Earth. Just that I'd never really believed in fate. Until now. And as the winds howled across the cracked earth, I held her hand. She didn't stop me. The desert was endless. Sand twisted into glass beneath the weight of ancient fire, and the sky above glowed a dull violet, choked by ever-shifting storm clouds that spat static and madness. They called this region the Dead Halo. Once, it was a cradle of Thalzari culture, lush, thriving, a symbol of peace between their people and the early Crithian explorers. Now it was ash and bones. Our hover-skiff struggled across the terrain, the engine whining against the storm-choked air. Maddox had to reroute the stabilizers every 20 kilometers just to keep us from flipping over in the wind shears. Ortega was doing her best to keep the princess conscious, injecting her with stimulants and hydration synths. But Era was fading. Her skin had taken on a cold sheen, her eyes fluttered, and the glowing lines across her temple dimmed like dying stars. "We're losing her," Ortega said quietly. "She won't last another day of this." I nodded but didn't respond. I just kept my hand wrapped around the grip of my rifle, scanning the dunes. I couldn't afford to break. Not here. Not now. Then the storm came. It wasn't just wind and lightning. It was something deeper. A psychic howl, like a scream pulled from the memories of the dead. The skiff system sparked, lights flickering as the storm rushed over us. Maddox shouted over the roar, "This isn't natural. It's a mind storm." I'd read about them, echo storms, they were called. When Thalzari mental harmonics collapse violently, the psychic residue twists into a force that doesn't just damage tech, it assaults consciousness. We all dropped, clutching our heads, as flashes of pain and broken memories crashed over us. I saw Earth burning. My unit screaming. My brother's face. Then nothing. When I came to, the skiff was on its side, half buried in blackened sand. Maddox was gone. Ortega was bleeding from her ears, struggling to sit up. And Era, she was humming. The sound was soft, fragile, but it echoed like a lullaby in the ruined wind. The storm around us slowed, thinned, then dissipated. Her eyes opened, weak but focused, and for the first time in hours, she breathed deeply. "She calmed the storm," Ortega whispered. "She sang to it." I helped Era sit up, though she was still shaking. She looked at me, and for a moment, I felt her thoughts inside mine. Not words, not pictures, just warmth. A faint pulse of gratitude. Then I heard Maddox scream. We found him not far away, stumbling through the dunes. His eyes were wild, unfocused. He kept talking to things that weren't there, voices from the storm. He didn't recognize us. He shot at shadows. I had to wrestle the rifle from his hands. Whatever the storm had shown him, it broke something. We left him behind, sedated and sealed inside a makeshift shelter beacon. It felt like a betrayal. But we had no choice. The princess needed to reach the sanctuary. She was our mission now. And whatever waited ahead in the ruins of Voth, it had better be real. Or we were all already dead. The sanctuary of Voth wasn't a building, it was a scar. A jagged wound in the earth, surrounded by stone pillars half swallowed by time, with alien symbols carved deep enough into their surfaces to have defied centuries of sandstorms. The coordinates had led us true. But standing before it, I wished they hadn't. The place bled unease. Ortega helped Era from the skiff while I swept the perimeter. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. No reapers, no scavengers, not even carrion birds. Just silence and those towering monoliths that hummed faintly when we passed. Era leaned on me as we descended the stone steps into the sanctuary's heart. The air changed, cooler, heavier. Each breath felt like it had weight, like we were inhaling old secrets. The chamber opened into a wide, circular hall glowing with soft blue light from beneath the floor. In the center stood the vault. It was a perfect sphere, hovering inches off the ground, encased in bands of crystalline code and pulsing circuits. It recognized her presence immediately. The sphere's outer shell flared, scanning her body, and then dimmed. Access denied. Her DNA no longer met the threshold. She was too far gone. Ortega cursed. There has to be another way. Override, manual entry, something. She moved around the vault, trying every method she knew, but the sanctuary didn't respond. It was designed to protect its contents from everyone except those of true royal blood. Era sagged against the floor, her strength failing. "I am no longer who I was," she whispered. "The plague, it stripped me. Even my identity, my core." I looked between her and the vault. The cure was inside, I knew it. Every instinct, every gut feeling I had screamed it. But it might as well have been light years away. And then she said it. "There is another way. A right. Forbidden in my time. A bond of mind and body. If we merge, just enough, my essence might reach the vault." I didn't understand. Not fully. But she explained through a trembling voice and ancient memories, an old Thalzari ritual that allowed neural synchronization between two beings. Not just data transfer, but essence transfer. Enough to momentarily rewrite her bio-signature with the strength of mine. But the process wasn't reversible. Human minds weren't meant for this kind of fusion. After 72 hours, my neural lattice would dissolve from the overload. I looked at Ortega. She said nothing. Just stared. Waiting. And I nodded. Era reached for my hand. Her skin was ice, but her eyes burned. The sanctuary responded as the ritual began. Light surrounded us, tendrils of energy wrapping around our skulls. Thoughts collided, my childhood, her coronation, my scars, her solitude. I saw her whole, and she saw me broken. We screamed. Together. When it ended, I was on my knees, blood dripping from my nose. She knelt beside me, stronger, brighter. The vault shimmered. And opened. The vault hissed as the final layer of crystalline code unraveled. The inner chamber revealed itself, circular, sterile, and humming with ancient power. In the center hovered a small containment unit, shaped like a chalice suspended midair by magnetic fields. Inside it, a vial of silver-blue nanite serum, pulsing like it had a heartbeat. Era stepped forward, her legs still shaking. The sanctuary's lights responded to her presence now, recognizing her as one of its own again. The bond had worked. Her body wasn't fully healed, but her essence had been restored enough for the vault to acknowledge her. That fragile spark of royalty had been reignited by me. I leaned against a column, my head pounding. My thoughts felt slower. Not cloudy, just unfamiliar. Like the edges of who I was were softening. I knew it was beginning, the collapse of my neural lattice. The countdown had started. Ortega carefully removed the vial from the suspension field and loaded it into the injector unit. She hesitated, then looked at Era. "You sure this is going to work?" The princess gave a faint nod. "It was made from my ancestors' genes. It will rewrite the corrupted strands. If it doesn't kill me first." "No pressure," Ortega muttered, pressing the injector to Era's neck. The serum hissed as it entered her bloodstream. Her body seized, every muscle tensing. Her eyes went wide, glowing gold, brighter than I'd ever seen them. For a terrifying moment, she convulsed violently, choking on her own breath. Then she went still. I rushed forward, catching her before she collapsed entirely. Her breathing steadied. The color returned to her skin, and the flickering lines across her forehead blazed to life, no longer dying embers but flames. She opened her eyes. "It worked," she whispered. "I can feel them, the mines. My people. They're still alive. Scattered. Distant. But still connected." Her voice trembled, not with weakness, but with awe. I tried to smile. But I was already feeling it. My own name was harder to remember. The corners of my vision pulsed strangely, and some of my thoughts weren't linear anymore. I remembered things I'd never lived, snippets of Thalzari songs, old rituals, emotions that weren't mine. Era turned to me slowly, and her expression shifted from joy to horror. "You're unraveling already." I shrugged. "Worth it." "No," she whispered. "You didn't have to." "I did," I interrupted. "You're not just a person. You're their anchor. You are your people. Without you, billions die in silence. If I can give you a second chance, then what else is a soldier for?" She cupped my face, gently, like I was something fragile. "I can feel your mind inside mine. Echoing. Fading. I just need you to remember me," I murmured. "That's all." "I will," she said, voice breaking. "Always." We sat together, our foreheads touching, the sanctuary glowing around us like starlight. For a few moments, there was no war, no loss, just breath and warmth, and the quiet hum of sacrifice beginning its final song. We didn't get far. The moment we stepped out of the sanctuary, the sky changed. It wasn't gradual. It was sudden, like someone tore a hole in the heavens. Prithian assault carriers dropped from the clouds, black and angular, their engines howling like monsters reborn. Drones followed in clouds, their eyes red and blinking, scanning for movement. The enemy had been watching the sanctuary all along. Waiting. Ortega cursed. They waited until she was healed. They wanted her alive. "No," I muttered. "They wanted her almost dead. She's a symbol now. A rallying point. If they kill her in front of her people, they win more than a war. They break the soul of a species." We bolted to the skiff. Ortega threw herself behind the controls while I helped Era in, though her strength had mostly returned. Still, I kept an arm around her. I didn't trust my legs to hold me up without leaning on something, on her. "Strap in," Ortega growled, slamming the thrusters. The skiff shot forward, riding just above the dunes. Behind us, energy bolts cracked the earth. The Crithians were hunting us now, and they weren't pulling punches. Era reached out with her mind. I could feel it, a vast network sparking back to life. Thalzari ships in orbit, half-manned, half-buried in system-wide confusion, were waking. She was calling to them. Not with words. With presence. And they answered. Flashes of light in the upper atmosphere. Thalzari cruisers, old and worn but proud, broke through the clouds, weapons glowing. The planet wasn't dead. Not anymore. But we weren't safe yet. A blast took out one of the skiff's stabilizers. Ortega lost control, and we skidded across the sand, flipping once before slamming into the side of a broken outpost tower. I pulled Era from the wreckage, shielding her as gunfire lit up the ruins. Crithians swarmed in, six-legged armor-clad horrors, moving like shadows with knives for limbs. I don't remember everything that happened next. It's all snapshots. Gunfire. Screams. Blood. Ortega was hit. Went down trying to shield the princess. I don't even know if she made it. But I stood. Even as my mind cracked open and names bled out of my head like water through torn paper, I stood. And I fought. Era was behind me, chanting something, calling down fire from the orbiting ships. But they wouldn't reach us in time. One Crithian charged. I tackled it. Drove my blade into its eye. Another hit me with a blast to the chest, but I didn't stop. I couldn't feel pain anymore. Just momentum. Just the drive to hold the line long enough. Then I saw the beacon flare in the distance. Drop ships. Thalzari reinforcements. We'd made it. I collapsed as they arrived, my body refusing to move, the last of my thoughts slipping like sand through my fingers. Era cradled me, shouting something, but I couldn't understand the words. I remembered her face. The first time. They tell me my body never left Thalzar. The neural collapse began before the final ship landed. My thoughts unraveled one by one, like stars winking out at the edge of memory. Name, rank, Earth, gone. But not all of me died. The bond didn't break, it lingered, etched into her mind, a ghost whispering through circuits and synapses. The Thalzari couldn't save me. Not in the way I once existed. But they couldn't let me fade, either. So they preserved me. Not my body, it was too far gone. But my essence, the fractured echoes of who I had been, were recorded in a stasis lattice deep beneath the capital. A cathedral of memory, constructed where the old palace had stood, its center holding what they called the guardian spark. A neural imprint, flickering in a field of suspended time. That imprint is me. Or what remains. I don't dream. Not really. But sometimes I feel her. Era visits. Often. She sits in silence beside the core chamber, resting her hand against the glass. She doesn't speak aloud anymore. There's no need. The bond is still there. Fragile but real. Through her, I sense the world outside. The rebirth of a people once teetering on extinction. The capital rebuilt, towers glowing once more. Fields blooming. The sky no longer weeping ash. And they remember. Not just the princess, but the people. They speak my name with reverence. Elias Merrick. Human. Warrior. Sacrifice. There's a statue in the central square, me, cast in obsidian and gold, with Era in my arms, just as I carried her from the sanctuary. They touch the statue for luck. Soldiers place their palms on the base before deployment. Children light candles at its feet during their coming-of-age rites. They call me the flame that wouldn't fade. I never asked for that. I never wanted legend. I just wanted her to live. Sometimes I wonder what Earth would have thought. Would they have honored me? Or just marked my file, missing in action, and moved on? It doesn't matter now. Era never took a mate. Not in all the years since. Some say it's out of devotion. Others say it's because the bond we shared couldn't be replicated. She rose from princess to empress. Not through war or conquest, but by healing, by guiding her people back from the edge. A leader born in silence, forged in pain, and crowned by sacrifice. And through it all, she carried me with her. Every major decision. Every treaty. Every act of mercy. My echo flickers in her thoughts, a reminder that strength isn't measured in how many enemies we crush, but in how many lives we choose to save. So if this is death, I've known worse. I am memory now. A voice behind her eyes. A flicker in the light when she walks alone. And in that place beyond time, where warriors go when they give everything, I wait. Because one day, she'll return. And I'll be there. Just as I promised.